dear student, welcome back to our MyEco B1-B2 intermediate level English lessons. The topic of our third lesson is frequency adverbs and time expressions. So, let's begin. Frequency adverbs are adverbs that show us how often an action is done. We can use frequency adverbs in the past, present, and future tense. There are positive frequency adverbs and negative frequency adverbs. First, let's start with using frequency adverbs in the present tense. Starting with positive frequency adverbs, we have always. She always spells my name wrong. It is always rainy and stormy here in winter. The next frequency adverb, almost always. Sandra almost always comes to work too late. We are almost always tired after the meetings with him. Usually. Adam usually gets home at about 6 o'clock. Alexandra is usually rude to her classmates. Often. I often see him around the house. I am often hungry by midday. Frequently. They frequently hold conferences at this hotel. White marble is frequently streaked with gray, black, or green. Generally. He generally demands a lot of money to complete such work. Your health is generally good, but there are still minor problems. Sometimes. I sometimes think I'm going mad. They are sometimes here to see the animals. Occasionally. I occasionally see his family in town. They are occasionally tired and sick. So those are our positive frequency adverbs in the simple present tense form. You can see that I have our verb, sometimes are, sometimes see, sometimes come, in its normal, simple present tense form, plus the frequency adverb. Now, let's look at negative frequency adverbs. Seldom. Because we have a baby, we seldom go to the cinema. He is seldom at the school after school hours. Rarely. I rarely have time to read a newspaper and watch TV. The meaning of his speech is rarely clear. It is difficult to understand him. Hardly ever. Claire hardly ever goes out of her room because of her depression. The weather is hardly ever sunny and warm in Antarctica. Almost never. I almost never have a penny in my pocket. She is almost never sorry for her mistakes. Never. I never go there and talk to them. People never believe he is 76. He is lively. Not ever. I don't ever come to this part of town. They aren't ever happy for a vacation in a huge hotel. So, here is something important to remember. When we look at these examples, we can see that positive frequency adverbs have a positive meaning in the sentence related to the frequency. That means that the action or the verb is happening all the time or regularly. Negative frequency adverbs have a negative meaning in the sentence in terms of frequency. That means it's something that is not happening all the time, that is not regular. Usually, frequency adverbs are used after the subject and before the predicate. But if we have the be verb in our sentence, remember, the be verb is am, is, are, then it will come after our be verb. The frequency adverbs usually, often, frequently, generally, sometimes, and occasionally can be used just before the verb as well as at the beginning and the end of the sentence. For example, I generally eat my lunch after 1 p.m. Sometimes I visit my aunt and give her presents. I go running in the mornings frequently. Occasionally, I have a piece of chocolate. So with these frequency adverbs, their position in the sentence can change from the beginning to the middle to the end. In question sentences, frequency adverbs are after the subject and before the verb. If in that question we don't have a clear direct verb or action, then we focus on putting the frequency adverb after the subject. For example, do you sometimes think I am lazy? Does he always come here and play with you? Are you generally on their side? And does Sarah frequently cry when she faces a problem? In negative sentences, frequency adverbs are used before the negative auxiliary verb. For example, Claire usually doesn't eat meat, or they generally don't come here. Always and ever frequency adverbs are used after the negative auxiliary verb. For example, he doesn't always eat vegetarian foods, or they don't ever eat unhealthy foods. Since the negative frequency adverbs seldom, rarely, hardly ever, never have a negative meaning, we don't have double negatives in a sentence. This means that their sentences don't have a negative auxiliary verb. For example, Andrew never goes out when he is ill. Andrew doesn't never go out when he is ill is not possible. Or, I rarely visit my aunt. I don't rarely visit my aunt has a completely different meaning. In the upcoming lessons, you'll learn more about frequency adverbs and time expressions. But let's look at some time expressions now. The first time expression we have is once in a while. We go to the cinema once in a while. Every now and again. She drinks cola every now and again. From time to time. From time to time, I visit my family. Several times a month, year, or week. I meet him several times a year, or several times a week, or several times a month. That can change. Frequency adverbs are used a lot in English, so there's something you're going to see in the present, past, and future tenses. So look out for them. Now, our lesson on frequency adverbs and time expressions is done. Now let's do an activity together to make sure we all understand. We've got some incomplete sentences here. Let's start with number 1. I rarely blank. Let's think about that. I rarely drink my coffee with milk. That rarely is a negative frequency adverb, showing that something doesn't happen often or a lot. Number 2, our English teacher usually gives us homework every week. Number 3, my little brother is hardly ever tired at bedtime. Number 4, my grandmother never forgets my birthday. Number 5, we visit the company factory frequently. Number 6, my best friend sometimes sleeps over at my house. Number 7, they go out for dinner every now and again. Remember, every now and again is one of our time expressions. Number 8, Brian doesn't ever shout at his wife. Doesn't ever shout at his wife. Remember, we have only one negative in these sentences. Does not or doesn't is the negative here. Doesn't never would not be possible. Number 9, the weather in my hometown is often sunny. Number 10, water always boils at 100 degrees Celsius. And number 11, the sun never rises in the west. With those last two, we can see always boils and the sun never rises. We have our frequency adverbs showing us that we need to use simple present tense because they are scientific facts and information that never loses its accuracy. And now our third lesson is complete. To get more information on this topic, please click the links down below. If you wish, you can purchase our B1-B2 Essential English Grammar book, sign up for our course on Udemy, or visit our MyEco website where you can purchase one of our education packages to receive more activities and their solutions. See you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.